They told everyone it was just rain. Just a slippery road. Just two women who lost their footing on a mountain path. But in the Appalachian Hills, people know better. Roads remember footsteps. And blood never disappears. It only sinks deeper. This story comes from a remote town in West Virginia, where the forests are older than churches, and faith is inherited like land. What you're about to hear was never written in police records. It lived only in whispers, in looks people avoided, and in a child who was never supposed to speak. The town sat between two forested ridges, connected to the outside world by a narrow, broken road. Most homes were wooden, passed down through generations. At the highest point of the village stood a small chapel. No electricity inside. Just candles. Just prayers. Every family believed in a guardian presence, a protector that watched over bloodlines. People didn't question it. They lived by it. One such family lived near the edge of the fields. The father, Harold, was a farmer. Strong hands. Bent back. A man who believed land was more honest than people. His wife, Eleanor, kept the house. Soft-spoken. Devout. She never missed morning prayer. They had two sons. The older one, Sushil, was ambitious. He left early. City life suited him. The younger one was Gagan. Quiet. Watchful. Restless. Gagan joined the U.S. Army young. He liked the structure. The authority. The uniform made him feel important. He married Madhu. Madhu was gentle. Patient. The kind of woman who smiled even when life gave her reasons not to. They moved to Virginia near a base. Had two daughters. Life was simple. Not happy, but stable. Gagan was rarely home. Deployments came and went. Madhu raised the girls alone. She didn't complain. She never did. The call came on a winter evening. Harold was dying. Eleanor's voice shook on the phone. She begged. Gagan didn't hesitate. He took leave and drove back to the village with Madhu and the girls. Sushil arrived too. The old house filled again with voices. For a while it felt normal. They took turns caring for Harold, feeding him, listening to his labored breathing. One night Harold spoke. He asked Gagan why he had left the land, why he chased uniforms instead of soil. Then he said something that stayed with Gagan. If everyone leaves, this place dies. A week later Harold passed away. The funeral was quiet. Rain fell softly like the sky understood restraint. After the rituals, Sushil returned to the city. Gagan didn't. Something inside him hardened. He decided helpfully that the village needed him. That staying was sacrifice. Eleanor was relieved. Madhu smiled, though uncertainty lived behind her eyes. Months passed. Then Eleanor fell sick. Nothing dramatic. Just age catching up. Madhu took on more responsibility. Morning prayers at the chapel became routine. Eventually, Madhu discovered she was pregnant again. The news spread joy through the house. Eleanor prayed harder than ever. She believed the guardian spirit would bless them, especially with a son. Gagan didn't say much, but something about the pregnancy bothered him. On the morning it happened, rain had been falling since before dawn. Gagan left early, saying he had worked near the fields. Eleanor and Madhu prepared for prayer. They told the girls to stay inside. The path to the chapel was narrow, muddy, cut into the hillside like a scar. As they walked, the forest felt unusually silent. No birds, no insects. Halfway up the path, they saw Gagan standing ahead. His face looked wrong, tight, angry. Madhu smiled and asked why he was there. Gagan didn't answer. He spoke instead about the baby. He said he didn't want another girl. He said it coldly. Eleanor was shocked. She had never heard her son speak like that. Madhu tried to calm him. That's when he pushed Eleanor. She lost her balance and fell. The drop was steep. The sound her body made when it hit below was not loud. It was final. Madhu screamed. She turned to run. Gagan grabbed her. She begged. She said she would tell everyone. That's when he pulled out the knife. One clean stab. Right side of the chest. Then he pushed her too. The rain covered the rest. By afternoon, the village found the bodies. The official story spread quickly. A tragic accident. Slippery road. Wild animals must have caused the wounds. No one questioned it aloud. But the land remembered. Gauguin returned home later that day. He cried convincingly. The girls clung to him. The funeral was held 2 days later. 3 graves. Mother, wife, unborn child. From that moment on, the house changed. The air felt heavier. At night, the older daughter began waking suddenly, breathing fast, watching corners. And somewhere deep in the forest, something that had been wronged opened its eyes. Grief doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in, quietly, like moisture in old wood. After the funeral, the house felt larger than before. Too many empty corners. Too much silence where voices used to live. Gauguin tried to fill it with routine. He woke early, worked the fields his father had left behind, fed the animals, cooked when he remembered to. The girls stayed close to each other. They slept in the same bed, spoke less, watched their father more. At first, Gauguin tried to be gentle. But gentleness requires patience. And patience was something he had buried along with the bodies. Weeks passed, then months. Gauguin quit the army officially. Paperwork came. Uniforms were packed away. Without the structure of duty, something in him unraveled. He started drinking. Not every day, but often enough. The land he worked reminded him of what he didn't have. What he believed was stolen from him. The girls noticed the change before anyone else did. His voice grew sharper, his temper shorter. Sometimes, when the younger daughter asked for food late at night, he would snap. Sometimes he would raise his hand. The elder daughter learned quickly to step in front, to take the blow, to say nothing. Time continued its slow, indifferent march. The girls grew taller, stronger. They helped with the house, with the fields. From the outside it looked like survival. From the inside it felt like pressure. Then one evening, while returning from the fields, the elder daughter stopped suddenly. She felt it. A weight. Not on her shoulders. Not on her back. On her chest. As if someone had placed a heavy stone directly over her heart. She didn't say anything. She assumed it was exhaustion. But that night she couldn't sleep. Her breathing felt shallow. Her dreams were crowded. She woke up screaming. The younger sister shook her. Asked what she saw. The elder daughter didn't answer. She was staring at the wall, at a spot where the shadows looked wrong. Over the next few days, changes came fast. Her appetite disappeared. Her eyes darkened. Her anger surfaced in ways that didn't belong to a child. Small things set her off. A broken bowl. A late meal. Gauguin noticed, and instead of concern, he felt irritation. He started hitting her more often. Each time her eyes would change. She wouldn't cry. She would just stare at him. Then her body began to change. Her face looked older, hollow. Dark veins appeared near her temples. And one morning, while changing clothes, the younger sister saw something that made her freeze. On the right side of her sister's chest, just below the collarbone, was a dark mark, bruised. It looked old and fresh at the same time. The younger sister remembered. She remembered the blood on her mother's body, the wound no one talked about. She didn't tell her father. Fear sealed her mouth shut. Nights became unbearable. The elder daughter began waking at random hours, screaming, laughing, whispering. Sometimes she spoke in a voice that wasn't hers. Sometimes she sat up and just watched the door, as if waiting for someone to enter. One night she got out of bed and walked into the kitchen. The younger sister followed quietly. She watched her sister stand at the kitchen doorway and slam her head against the wooden frame. Once, twice, again. Blood trickled down her forehead. She didn't flinch. The younger sister screamed. Gauguin came running. He slapped the elder daughter hard. She stopped, slowly turned her head, smiled. That smile stayed with him. By morning the village knew. People talked, whispered. Some said the house was cursed. Some said the guardian spirit was angry. Gauguin finally took notice when he saw the mark himself. That same wound, same place, Same side. His hand shook. That afternoon he took the elder daughter to the chapel. The priest was old, thin. His eyes had seen too much. He began prayers immediately. Chants echoed against stone walls. Candles flickered. As the priest leaned in and looked into the girl's eyes, his face drained of color. His chanting faltered, then stopped. He stepped back, whispered one word, Mason. The air shifted. The priest dropped his prayer beads and ran. Didn't look back. Gauguin dragged the girls home. Fear followed them like a shadow. The elder daughter worsened. She clawed at her arms, pulled at her hair. She screamed names no one recognized. She laughed when it rained. Villagers gathered outside the house. Not to help, to watch. Eventually they spoke. They told Gauguin to leave. They said his family had brought danger, that the spirit would spread, that their own children were at risk. Gauguin refused. He said his guardian would protect them. He begged for time. 1 week. Reluctantly they agreed. In the crowd stood the priest. He noticed the younger daughter tugging at her sleeve, making small gestures, trying to speak. He knelt beside her quietly, asked what she wanted to say. She looked at her father, went silent. Later, when the crowd thinned and Gauguin was gone, she returned. This time she spoke. Her voice shook, but she spoke. She told the priest everything. She said her father never wanted to stay in the village. He came for land. He hated his grandfather for giving most of it to Sushil. He hated his mother for being pregnant again. She said the morning of the accident, her father had followed them. She said her mother screamed. She said there was blood. She said her father did it. The people listening didn't want to believe her, but deep down, they already knew. That night, the priest returned with others. They began another ritual. This time they didn't ask politely. They demanded answers. The elder daughter's body stiffened. Her voice changed. It spoke calmly. It said its name was Madhu. It said it never left. It said the wound burned every day. It said it only wanted the truth to be known. As the ritual intensified, Gauguin panicked. In the confusion, he ran. The forest swallowed him. People chased. Rain began again. At the same bend in the path, his foot slipped. He fell. Not far enough to die, just enough to feel pain. They caught him. Police took him away. By morning, the elder daughter slept peacefully for the first time. The weight lifted. The wound faded. And somewhere between the trees, justice finally exhaled. The night after Gauguin was taken away did not feel like relief. It felt unfinished, the kind of quiet that follows a scream. The house stood with its doors open, as if even the walls needed air. The elder daughter lay on the floor of the main room, wrapped in a thin blanket. Her breathing was slow, too slow. The younger sister sat beside her, afraid to sleep, afraid that if she closed her eyes, something would return. Outside, the villagers spoke in hushed voices. No one went home. No one wanted to be alone with their thoughts. The priest stayed. He knew this wasn't over. Just before dawn, the elder daughter opened her eyes. She didn't scream. She sat up slowly. Her gaze moved around the room, taking everything in like it was the first time she'd seen it. When she spoke, it wasn't her voice. It was softer, older. It carried exhaustion. She said, "I tried to leave." The priest felt his stomach drop. He asked who was speaking. The girl tilted her head. Madhu. The name moved through the room like a cold breath. The villagers backed away. Some crossed themselves. Some whispered prayers. The priest stayed where he was. He asked why she had come back. The voice answered calmly, "I didn't come back. I never left." She said death had been quick. Too quick. No time to understand. No time to forgive. She said when her body hit the rocks, something inside her refused to move on. Not rage. Not revenge. Truth. She said she watched everything after that. Watched her daughters cry. Watched Gauguin pretend. Watched the village accept the lie. The wound on her chest burned every day. She said it burned because no one spoke. The priest asked why she chose the elder daughter. The voice paused. She was strong, it said. She already carried weight. She would survive me. The younger sister began crying silently. The priest asked what Madhu wanted. The answer was simple. Witnesses. As the sky lightened outside, the elder daughter's body trembled. The priest began chanting again. Not to expel. To listen. Madhu spoke of the land. How Gagan had obsessed over it. How every conversation circled back to what was his, and what had been taken. She said the pregnancy terrified him. Not because of responsibility, but because it might be another girl. She said he never loved his daughters. He loved the idea of a son. Someone who would carry his name, his pride, his failures. The morning on the path. She said Gagan was already waiting. He had followed them. His face wasn't human anymore. When he pushed his mother, Madhu said something broke permanently. She said when the knife entered her chest, she didn't feel pain. She felt clarity. By the time the sun rose, everyone knew. There was no doubt left. This wasn't possession for chaos. This was testimony. Later that day, police returned. They questioned the villagers. They questioned the priest. They questioned the child. What they wrote down didn't include spirits, or voices, or wounds that moved. They wrote domestic violence, conflicting witness statements, unstable mental state. But they kept Gagan in custody, not because of ghosts, because stories, when repeated enough, become pressure, and pressure breaks lies. The elder daughter slept for 2 days straight. When she woke, she asked for water. Her voice was hers again. The wound on her chest was faint now, like an old scar. She didn't remember everything, only fragments. Rang, screaming, a feeling of being held from inside. The younger sister didn't leave her side. Sushil arrived on the 3rd day. He had heard rumors. He saw the house, the fields, the damage. He didn't ask many questions. He looked at the girls and understood enough. He filed paperwork, spoke illustrates with lawyers. The state evaluated Gagan, declared him unfit to regain custody. The girls were placed with Sushil. The house was left empty. Before they left, the priest performed one last ritual, not to cleanse, to close. He asked Madhu if she was still there. The air felt lighter. He took that as an answer. Years passed. The girls grew up in the city. They slept through the night. They went to school. They learned to laugh again. But neither of them ever forgot the mountain path, or the chapel, or the way silence can lie. Gagan was released eventually. There wasn't enough physical evidence. No confession on record. He returned to the village once. Only once. No one spoke to him. No one needed to. The forest watched. The road remembered. He left before nightfall. Some people say Madhu moved on. Others say she stayed near the path, just in case. Just in case someone tried to forget again. Because some truths don't need revenge. They only need a voice. When Gagan walked out of jail, there were no cheers. No waiting faces. Just a gray morning. And a road that didn't care where he went next. The state had done what it could. There was no body cam footage. No murder weapon recovered. No confession that could stand in court. So the law let him go. The land did not. Gagan returned to the village because he had nowhere else to go. The city believed paperwork. The village believed memory. His house stood exactly where he'd left it. Doors unlocked. Dust thick enough to show footprints. Only his. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. No one spoke to him. At night, dogs barked for no reason. Owls circled the trees near the chapel. Sleep didn't come easily. When it did, it brought dreams. Always the same. Rang. What? A woman screaming his name, not in anger, but in disappointment. He tried to work the fields again. The soil refused him. Crops failed. Animals avoided him. Even the well water tasted wrong. Gagan blamed the village. He blamed the priest. He blamed his brother. But never himself. One evening he followed the old chapel path. Not to pray. To confront. He stood at the bend where it happened. The wind picked up. His chest tightened. He felt it again. That weight. For the first time he understood. It wasn't haunting. It was memory. He fell to his knees. And for a brief moment, he thought he heard ankle bells. Meanwhile, the girls adjusted to life with Sushil. They slept convinced that doors locked properly, that voices stayed in bodies. The elder daughter still had nightmares. But now, someone held her when she woke. She grew into herself again. The priest aged quickly after that year. He stopped performing rituals for possession. He said some things should only be witnessed once. When asked about Masan, he refused to explain. Only said this: some spirits aren't born in death. They're born in betrayal. Back in the village, Gagan began talking to himself, arguing with empty rooms. People heard shouting at night. He claimed the guardian spirit had abandoned him. He claimed the land was cursed. But the truth was simpler. He was alone. One stormy night, Gagan disappeared. His house was found open. The path to the chapel showed fresh footprints. They ended at the same spot. No body was ever recovered. Some say he slipped again. Some say he walked into the forest. Some say the mountain finally collected its debt. Years later, hikers avoid that road. They say the air grows heavy there, that their chests tighten without reason. And sometimes, if the rain is just right, they hear bells. Time passed the way it always does, without asking permission. The village in the Appalachian Hills didn't disappear. It shrank. Houses emptied. Fields went wild. The chapel still stood, but fewer candles were lit each year. People moved on. At least that's what they told themselves. But places like that don't forget. They absorb. The road to the chapel was the first thing to change. Not visibly. Not in a way you could point at. It was a feeling. People said their footsteps slowed there. That conversations died mid-sentence. That children refused to walk ahead of adults. Animals avoided the bend completely. No signs were ever put up. No warnings. Fear didn't need instructions. The elder daughter grew into adulthood carrying fragments she couldn't fully name. She didn't remember the voice, or the words, but she remembered the weight. Pressure on her chest during moments of anger, during moments of injustice, during moments when someone tried to silence her. She became someone who spoke anyway. She never returned to the village. She didn't need to. Some doors stay closed because they've already taught you everything. The younger sister remembered more. She remembered blood, rain, her father's hands. She chose a different path. She studied law. People said it was coincidence. She knew better. Sushil never spoke publicly about his brother. When asked, he only said this: some people don't want families. They want proof that they matter. He sold the land eventually. No one bought the house. It still stands. The priest passed away quietly. Before he died, he told one last story. He said possession isn't always invasion. Sometimes it's inheritance. Sometimes the dead don't come to frighten. They come because no one listened when they were alive. As for Gagan, there are no records of his death. No grave. No body. But hikers still report something strange. They say when the rain falls hard enough, and the fog lowers itself just right, a man can be seen standing near the bend. He never moves. He never looks up. And if you get too close, your chest tightens, as if something heavy has been placed there. Not anger. Not fear. Guilt. The locals don't call it haunting. They call it balance, because some stories don't end with justice. They end with remembrance. And some spirits don't scream. They wait.